The cosmic machine hidden deep within Mount Shasta, according to claims. Guy Warren Ballard was a mining engineer. In 1930, he went on business trip to Mount Shasta in Northern California. Ballard had become interested in mysticism before his trip, and he wanted to use his off-duty hours at Mount Shasta to unravel rumors about the existence of a secret branch of the Brotherhood called the Brotherhood of Mount Shasta. The Shasta Brotherhood was said to have a secret underground headquarters inside the famous California mountain. The legends which had caught Ballard's interest began circulating from before the turn of the century. Persistent rumors told of secret dwellers living inside Mount Shasta who practiced a profound mystical tradition. The secret dwellers were said to be descendants from inhabitants of the ancient lost continent of Lemuria in the Pacific Ocean. Whatever the truth behind such legends may or may not be, it's unquestioned that Mount Shasta has long been a focus for mystical activity. Associated with that mystical activity has been a significant UFO phenomenon. For example, in May 1931 issue of Rosicrucian Digest, published in the year following Mr. Ballard's trip to Shasta, and a decade and a half before UFOs were popularized in the media, we read the following description of a flying boat, quote-unquote, in an article about the Shasta mystics. Many testified to have seen the strange boat or boats which sail the Pacific Ocean and then rise at its shores and sail through the air to drop again in the vicinity of Shasta. This same boat was seen several times by the officials employed by the cable station located near Vancouver, and the boat has been sighted as far as north as the Aleutian Islands. According to the same article, the boat has neither sails nor smokestacks. Against this background, Mr. Ballard's experience on Mount Shasta takes on additional significance. Mr. Ballard writes that he had hiked up to the side of the mountain and paused by spring, and as he bent down to fill a cup with water, he felt an electrical current passing through his body from head to foot. Looking around, he saw behind him a bearded man who looked to be in his 20s or 30s. The stranger later introduced himself as the Count of Saint Germain, who reportedly died in 1784. As a result of this meeting, Mr. Ballard began a full-time career spreading the teachings of the new Saint Germain. Ballard established the I Am Foundation, an organization with secret initiations and step-by-step teachings. Mr. Ballard claims that he had been introduced to members of the highest level of the Brotherhood, under which the I Am was found. The physical appearance of Saint Germain on Mount Shasta was considerably different than the Saint Germain of the 18th century. The earlier Saint Germain was in his 40s, black-haired and clean-shaven. The Mount Shasta Saint Germain is depicted as a younger brown-haired man sporting a beard. The tales Mr. Ballard tells of his experience with Saint Germain are so extraordinary that many people have derided them as fantasy. Surprisingly, when we strip away the interpretations which both Mr. Ballard and his critics give to his experiences, we find that his stories present a picture not only consistent with the rest of history as we have been viewing it, but they add remarkable new claims with rather startling implications for our own time. The initial meetings between Ballard and Saint Germain took place between August and October of 1930. During the earliest of those meetings, Saint Germain had Ballard drink a liquid which caused a strong physical reaction and made Ballard go out of body. This same out-of-body phenomenon is often reported by people taking strong drugs. After imbibing this fluid on several occasions, Ballard said that he was able to go out of body without the drink. This testimony is consistent with other evidence indicating that once a person learns to go out of body, it can become easy to do that for a time. Ballard alleges that while he was in some of his out-of-body states, Saint Germain, who was also out of body, took him to some rather remarkable places. One locale was a mountain in the Teton Range of Wyoming, a mountain Mr. Ballard calls the Royal Teton, and according to Ballard, there was a sealed tunnel entrance near the top of the mountain that led to elevators. The elevators took their occupants to a location 2,000 feet deep into the underground complex of huge halls, storage spaces, and mines. In one of the large underground rooms, Mr. Ballard claims that he saw an all-seeing eye symbol on the wall. There was also a large machine which Ballard describes as a disc of gold at least 12 feet in diameter, filling it so that the points touched the circumference and blazed seven-pointed star, composed entirely of yellow diamonds, a solid mass of brilliant golden light. Around the main disc were 7 small discs which Ballard gave symbolic meaning to. Ballard quickly revealed, however, that this large machine was not a mere symbol. As I learned later, at certain times for special purposes, great cosmic beings pour through these discs their powerful currents or force. Great cosmic beings, quote-unquote, was the term used by Ballard to denote leaders of the highest echelons of the Brotherhood. In his writings, Ballard claims that some of the Brotherhood's great cosmic beings are of extraterrestrial origin. Ballard was told that the currents of the force emitted by the machine were directed to the humanity of Earth, and the purpose of this radiation affects the 7 ganglionic centers, the nerve centers outside the brain and spinal cord, within every human body on our planet, as well as all animal and plant life. This is an astonishing claim, for it would mean that powerful electronics were used by the Brotherhood's great cosmic beings, these extraterrestrials, to affect the human nervous system on a widespread scale. According to the I Am Foundation magazine, the purpose of the radiation was behavioral modification designed to consume and purify the vortices of force produced by the discordant and vicious activities of mankind. The idea of behavior modification through electronic radiation is by no means an absurd one. In recent years, the Soviet Union has been developing and using electronic tranquilizing machines to behaviorally affect large populations. Such devices are also being purposed for classroom use in the United States, and we'll discuss devices in an upcoming chapter, he says. Although the alleged purpose of the Royal Teton radiation machine was to reduce discordant human activity, such radiation will usually have the opposite long-term effect because the emanations are actually irritants to the central nervous system, even if they do cause a superficial sedation. It's perhaps ironic that within less than a decade after Ballard wrote of his experience, the world exploded into one of its bloodiest conflicts, World War II. Either the machine of the great cosmic beings did not work, or it did. In his first book, Ballard claims to have visited 4 secret underground locations, altogether 2 of them while out of body and 2 by regular human means. Interestingly, each location corresponded to a region in which there existed earlier in history a major civilization worshipping the custodial gods, quote-unquote. The Teton location coincided with the ancient Northern American civilizations. A similar underground location in South America went hand in hand with the Incan civilization on that continent. A trip by boat and automobile resulted in a stopover at a reputed underground location on the Arabian Peninsula, which matched the ancient Mesopotamian and Egyptian civilizations. The 4th location in the mountains, above the city of Darjeeling, India, corresponded to the ancient Aryan civilizations of the Indian subcontinent. The underground locations were reportedly quite expansive and served a number of functions. In addition to holding electronic gadgetry, the caves were reportedly filled with enormous quantities of precious metals and gems. This is interesting because we know that most of the ancient civilizations worshipped the custodial gods, regularly made substantial offerings of gold, silver, and gems and other precious minerals to those gods. Ballard alleged that the treasures he viewed came from some of those civilizations. In these containers, gold is stored from the lost continents of Mu and Atlantis, the ancient civilizations of the Gobi and Sahara deserts, Egypt, Chaldea, Babylonia, Greece, Rome, and 2 others. It has generally been assumed by historians that ancient offerings were to the priest class. If, however, we take the existence of the custodial gods seriously, it's more likely that the gods really did carry the stuff away. Mr. Ballard's testimony would indicate that a great many of the precious stones and metals were stored by the gods in inaccessible underground locations on Earth, perhaps to help financial custodial activities and to keep the corrupted brotherhood functioning. Precious metals and stones are expensive largely because of artificial scarcity. When Cecil Rhodes developed his near monopoly on diamond mining in southern Africa, he was able to maintain the high price of diamonds by creating a very rigid channel through which his diamonds were sold. This is still true of the diamond trade today. And according to Ballard, the ascending masters of the Brotherhood intended to keep precious metals and gems scarce. Ballard said, if all this gold were to be released into the outer activity of the world, it would completely compel sudden readjustment in every phase of human experience, and at present it would not be part of wisdom. Saint Germain reportedly stated that the huge quantities of gold and treasure would be released into the outer world when mankind has transcended its unbridled and selfishness. The implication is that these precious gems and minerals exist in sufficient quantity on Earth to cause a dramatic drop in their value if they should be released into the public domain. A further implication is that they are hoarded and made scarce to preserve the wealth of the Brotherhood. If the treasures do indeed exist, then the Brotherhood is a sizable hidden economic power on Earth. According to Ballard, this hidden economic might does exist and has been used to influence human activity. During his tour of the Teton location, Saint Germain reportedly told Ballard, "No one in this world ever accumulated a great amount of wealth without the assistance and radiation of some ascended master. There are occasions in which individuals can be used as a focus of great wealth for a specific purpose, and at such times greatly added power is radiated to them, for through it they can receive personal assistance. Such an experience is a test and opportunity for their growth." It's certainly true that wealth has traditionally been concentrated in the hands of a small minority. It's also true that many members of that minority throughout history have been affiliated with the mystical Brotherhood network. The problem with this state of affairs would not be the narrow control of wealth. It would be that this control has so often been used to breed war and spiritual decay. During his trips to the alleged underground locations, Ballard was also shown some radio-type gadgets. One such gadget could reportedly tune in on conversations taking place in various parts of the world, including in the offices of the Bank of England. As we recall, the Bank of England is one of the earliest institutions founded on the inflatable paper money system. Inflatable. Now, that system was largely the creation of mystics and revolutionaries affiliated with Brotherhood network. The Bank of England has continued to be a principal center of that system up until today. The alleged eavesdropping capability of Ballard's ascended masters is therefore remarkable because it would indicate a direct monitoring of a principal central bank in the international paper money system by top echelons of the Brotherhood. And this becomes even more interesting when we consider the assistance that the Bank of England director Montague Norman gave Adolf Hitler and the German Nazi movement during the very time that this electronic snooping was reportedly occurring. And we note the large-scale destruction of irreplaceable religious and historical records in the Eastern and Western hemispheres by zealous Christians, and historians have been able to piece together much of human history anyway. But is this history complete? According to Ballard, it is not complete. Mankind lost additional records to Brotherhood leaders who had deliberately removed and hidden the writings. He claims that he saw some of those ancient historical works inside the underground mountain complex north of Darjeeling, India. He added that the records would not be released to the human race until the Ascended Masters so ordered. If true, the above quote is a stunning admission. Mankind's lack of spiritual growth has been caused by the very organization to which these alleged masters belong. It was the Brotherhood that turned spiritual knowledge into incomprehensible symbols, unfathomable mysteries, superstitious rites, savage apocalypticisms, and all of the other ills which ensue, therefore. In such circumstances, it's not surprised that human beings would experience a restlessness and critical feeling. The solution of withholding knowledge would certainly not correct those human deficiencies. Such a solution can only deepen the problem. The I Am movement, created by Ballard, preached a Judgment Day philosophy and strong anti-communism. Despite attacks from the press and the US government, the I Am movement attracted a large following during the late 1930s and early 40s. It taught that communism was the final evil in the world, that it would soon be destroyed by the ascending masters. And interestingly, no mention was made of other political systems which were rapidly growing in Germany at the time. The ascending masters and their followers were clearly political creatures, and according to Ballard, members of the Brotherhood were deeply involved in espionage and police organizations in the 1930s. Now, as if reappearing of Saint Germain in 1930 was not enough, the I Am movement posted another most distinguished speaker, Jesus Christ, featuring guests in New York on October 24, 1937, and in Oakland. Whether this Jesus, quote unquote, was actually a person claiming to be Christ, or was simply Mr. or Mrs. Ballard acting as mediums to channel a spirit voice of Jesus, I have not been able to discover, he said. Whichever it may be, may I respectfully submit that this was bona fide second coming of Jesus, as the custodial religions will probably ever deliver. Second Coming 1930s, sponsored by the same Brotherhood network which had sponsored and betrayed Jesus centuries before. Naturally, this newest Second Coming did not result in 1,000 years of peace and spiritual salvation. It merely helped set off World War II. And the I Am movement died down rather quickly after its peak in the 1940s. It's quite small today. It never gained the following or influence that so many other Brotherhood branches had attained. To most people, today's I Am Foundation is little more than a curiosity run primarily by retired people. Indeed, the I Am is not important to us for what it is now. It's significant for what it was in the 1930s and 40s. Was Ballard's I Am Foundation the concoction of blatant spiritual quacks offering a home-brewed spiritual elixir to people seeking a ray of hope in the world gone awry? Or did Ballard really meet someone that afternoon in 1930 on Mount Shasta? Was the I Am simply a bit of mystical razzle-dazzle designed to make money for the Ballard family, as critics have maintained? Or did Ballard's reported experience offer a rare glimpse into some of the activities of the Brotherhood in the 20th century? It's a pity Ballard is not here today to make his confession. And this by Patrick C. Bended Reality. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.